Hello, hello. Welcome, Rawlicious, you souls. So we have the amazing Josh from Plant Ninja, who offers incredible a program that helps you get lean, feel great, because it's all right looking good. And I see many, on this path, but looking great, but maybe not have the health, or even the opposite. And Josh is a great example of health. He has 5 children, a huge family, and he's doing so much work. Not only is he helping others on this path of vitality and looking great at it, but also building. Just quickly share, Josh, your exact, you did share it in the last call, but just share what your building is. So you build these I always call them like eco huts, and with you can explain
Sure,
that.
sure. Yeah, I can give the one minute BioArc spiel. So I and my business partner have a company. It's called BioArc, and we do a type of building and architecture. It's called biologic architecture. And long story short is we look at the principles in the physics of nature and how things are alive and how electricity gathers and resonates around living beings. And we copy those principles into our architecture, into our structures. And so based upon the selection of the site, because there's energetic lines all over the planet, and we can find those with dowsing and electronic equipment, based upon the selection of the site, based upon the materials, which are natural materials, because these are already in the geometry that allows for resonance of these special energies. And then based upon the actual geometry of the structures, we increase this biologically beneficial electrical charge in the structures, and measurably so. And then the way that we show that that's actually biologically beneficial is that we can take these readings inside the structures that show, yeah, the energy's here, it's resonating that natural energy. And then we can take seeds and germinate them inside the structure more rigorously, more efficiently than in a just conventionally designed structure. So that's BioArc in a nutshell. You can check us out at bioarc.co.
Oh yeah, I'll put that in the description. Amazing. I'm just blown away every time, and the work you do as well when you share it is incredible. So I'll put all that information in the description box. So today is a Q&A. And we've got some great questions from you all. So thank you so much for asking. And I will also put the questions in the description as well. So the first one we have is from Melissa Crawford. She goes, I want to try a 30-day raw challenge. I'm very attached emotionally to cooked foods, so I need small goals. I'm on day 34 of 60-day juiced feast right now. That's amazing. Well done, Melissa. And trying to prepare for refeeding. I have a lot of weight to lose. I'm happy I'm down 20 pounds so far and dream I may get down another 20. I'm wondering if it is possible to keep it off after juice fasting or feasting and have some cooked food or cooked whole foods, plant-based, oil-free meals sometimes, or if staying raw is the only option. I feel this is all endocrine related, adrenals, thyroid, pituitary, all shown in my iris. Oh, amazing. So you've had an ideology reading. So I briefly scanned this the other day, but I'm actually first time really reading this now. So I've got, I can share my intake and Josh will share his. So well done, on your 34 days. You've probably now done, that was 3 days ago, so you're on about 37 days of juice feasting. Depending on when this comes out, it'll be a week after possibly. So well done. For me personally, because you've done this incredible juice feast, and if you are going at least 60 days, I mean, I would recommend, and I love John Rose's protocol, go until you're not pooping anymore. So you're releasing all of that not even just solid but liquid waste. But I would go as long as it takes to get the mucoid plaque out. And because you've done that work, I would now focus on fully raw for at least 1 year, up to 2 years, especially if you're saying about, you've got the adrenals, the thyroid, and some other issues, and you still, you've got some weight to lose. And just for optimal health, give it that a year, 2 year mark, then start thinking about the cooked foods. That will go away. I know right now you'd be thinking, I can't wait to have my cooked foods, but you've gone the distance with this juice feast. So I would extend it personally, but until you've, I mean, it up to, even if 60 days you feel like that is done, you've got as much out as you can. But go a year to 2 years, at least 1 year on the raw living foods. I feel by the time you've come to that and you do the refeeding properly, that's the key, because I found a lot of people actually, even myself, fail at the refeeding. It's usually the juice feast is the easiest because you've got a set protocol, and it's afterwards when you start eating. So really be careful on the introductory of solid foods. But this is an opportunity, yeah, to go fully raw for at least a year. What have you done a juice feast before, Josh? I can't
I
remember.
have. I've not done very long ones personally. I've done like around 10 days was the longest I was really
I
doing
remember
fruit
you
feasts.
saying,
And
yeah.
then I've done, I was pretty into my own water fasting protocols and things, going about 7 days at a time. And I had my own experience with intermittent fasting and a little bit of dry fasting at the beginning of my water fasts. So you get my own like kind of perspective on that. In regards to what you're saying and your advice, I actually second that. And what some people don't know, but I actually started my journey fully raw. I didn't have enough education about getting that high carb fruit in my diet, so I was doing too many brassicas and stuff. That kind of led and raw veggies. That led me into a whole food plant-based diet, which was I really sustained that for a lot of years, and that resolved this energy kind of issue because I was then high carb, but was intaking whole grains and some fruit and things like that. So I was really fueled for many years, and I raised my first couple of kids like that. And then we went fully raw altogether for about 3 years. So I had 3 children at the time, fully raw, and very deep into the Dr. Morse protocols, detox protocols, et cetera. That's when I did some of my juice feasting, et cetera. And I think that was I really enjoyed that raw lifestyle. And if you can, so I basically about 6 years out of my whole food plant-based was fully raw. And out of my own necessity and out of my own what the balance for our family, raising so many kids, not having to spend tons of time doing meal prep, etc., we introduced a little bit of cooked food back into our diet, really focusing on a little bit of sweet potatoes and cooked veggies and things like that. So I would say if you're coming out of such a powerful cleanse, definitely see how long you can ride that raw food, super vibrant lifestyle for sure. And take it as far as you can. Maybe it becomes a long-term lifestyle thing. We all know that it's absolutely sustainable and it's potentially even optimal for anti-aging, et cetera, due to the even the biochemistry of what happens when you cook foods. You create these things that contribute to aging processes. They're called advanced glycation end products, but push it as long as you can. And then if you were going to try and start introducing cooked food at somewhere down the line out of whatever necessity you want, aim for the least mucus forming foods, which are going to be at first, it's going to be steamed vegetables and stuff. Then it's sweet potatoes and then quinoa. And then I don't really think you really need much more than that if you're already being so high raw. Like I'm about 90% raw and do lots of fruit and that sort of thing. And I don't really want any more than that. And I actually foresee and have long stretches of just fully raw. So that's my take on the matter is take it as far as you go. If you're going to introduce later on, learn about mucus forming foods and avoid those.
Yeah, that's a good, yeah, if you do decide to choose, because everything is a choice. I think when you're intentional and you're on this juice feasting is incredible to get back to that intuition, that connection. So just tap into that and feel that call. But I feel because you've done the distance of the juice feast, this is an opportunity to really, master the raw living foods and go as long as you can, aim for that 12-month mark. Yeah, and I don't like to always have that mindset of, if I introduce cooked foods, because sometimes I've seen with my clients, go off on a frenzy, a bit of it does, and especially the introduction when you've just finished the feast. So really always take it longer. So, but know that it's not forever. So but I feel if you're intentional and you're doing the inner work, you might not get that calling. Usually you don't, don't get that calling to go back to cooked foods. And if you do, be intentional and mindful. And it is that choice that you've allowed yourself. So yeah, thanks, Josh. The second question is from Vincent. Best way to be raw and get ripped as a male without losing muscle. He has two questions, so we'll do this one first. So over to you, Josh.
I heard the question. Absolutely. I got a little 4-year-old saying, "Hi, Daddy's" at the window.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah. So in regards to that, I would say that depending on where you're coming from, we have to pay attention to a couple things. When you go fully raw from a conventional diet, it's likely that you're going to go through a detoxification process. And there's going to be shedding of some weight. There's going to be potentially some shedding of some muscle, etc. But there is a transitioning point, and I have my own recommendations on how to make this as a fluid a transition and as least of an extreme sort of, because you see some people will go and start to look very, very depleted. And so I like to take a slightly more gentle approach, but you may naturally see that decrease in weight. And there is a turning point in where you can start to rebuild again with the proper exercise and the proper nutritional intake. So my recommendation on that sort of thing is, I think that it's amazing that if you're transitioning to do things like you recommend, Tony, doing these juice fasts, really supporting the eliminative organs, reducing the stress on the digestion to allow your body to really pass a lot of the detoxification in a short amount of time and without getting clogged up and dealing with some of these severe healing crises that people can go through if they don't do things right. But then in regards to the building process, if you're on a fully raw diet, then I recommend making sure, one of the key points is making sure that you're getting adequate calories. So this is where I recommend people get an app like Chronometer. I like Chronometer for tracking intakes, and make sure that you're getting that adequate calories. I also think that it's very important to emphasize the carbohydrates in the fruit as the main carbohydrate source that you're getting is like the fruit, and making sure that you're not getting excessive calories from fat, because if you get excessive calories from fat, then you're going to mess up the carbohydrate metabolism. It's going to cause you energy issues, and you're not going to be able to work out as well. You're not going to feel as well. You might not even feel like you can sustain the diet. If you get the carbohydrates right and you get the fat right, which I recommend in the 15-20% range, some people can tolerate 25% or so. And this is all with also what the data and the biochemistry recommends as well for optimal carbohydrate metabolism, optimal pancreatic health, etc. Then naturally the protein lands in the 10% range, I find, with whole plant foods. Mm-hmm. And what we know is that human breast milk is about 6 to 8% protein, and babies grow very efficiently, really well. And it's because they have that amino acid profile that's necessary in the adequate quantities. So I think that if you've got the carbs right, you're getting it from the fruit, you're getting a diverse amount of plant foods in your diet, which cover that whole amino acid profile. You're in the 10, maximum 15% protein range. And if you want to boost the protein a little bit and stay raw, you can look into things like spirulina, a little bit of minimally processed hemp protein powder and that sort of thing. Then from my experience, you can do a good job and be very effective in building muscle on the diet. To an extent, we're not promoting the bodybuilder lifestyle or the bodybuilder kind of physique on a carbohydrate-centric, not protein-centric diet. So with the recommendations I just made, I feel that you can build to what I consider the most holistically healthy physique, which is that lean yet muscular, functionally fit, sort of what I consider masculine physique as well. And so what I think I feel that I exemplify that to a high degree. I'm about 6'1", and I range anywhere between 162 to 165 pounds. That's with only 2 hours of high intensity calisthenics per week and 90% raw foods, no protein powders or supplements, and no focus on protein heavy foods. So my macros end up being about 70% carbs, 20% fat, 10% protein.
Yeah. Yeah, and you look great. And I feel there's sadly in the fitness industry, it's all promoting these supplements, and a lot of everyone looks inflamed, and we know it now through the supplements, through the diets. It's just inflammation in the body, and that's why they look puffy, and then they have that look of the steroid look as well. And we've kind of accepted that, oh, well, that's the physique that you know, if you go to the gym, you want to look buff, but it's actually not healthy. It's interesting to see like the conditioning of what health should look like. And if you're not agile, and a lot of these bodybuilders, they can't even run. They're not even able to just, we should be doing basic things, you know, running, being able to do activities in the any time of the day. So I like, yeah, more like that you train for more like with the calisthenics, so that you can do everyday movements and not have any issues in the future, such as any pains and aches. And I like the way you train. I've seen a lot of your videos, and I've been implementing the same, instead of just focusing on strength and just lifting weights. I agree about the ratios as well. I pretty much have around 15% fats, macro. So focus on the macros. There's MyFitnessPal, which I don't really enjoy the chronometer. I don't use them now because I'm kind of intuitive, and I see from tracking over the years. But if you are starting out, MyFitnessPal is really good for tracking your macros and getting enough calories. Like Josh said, I feel you can, some people can undereat because they're not used to the amount of carbohydrates, because they're so used to these denser foods, these fats, that you feel really full quickly on fruit. You know, some people can eat just 1 or 2 bananas and they're so full. I mean, now I can have 5-10 banana smoothies.
Well, you know what's a kind of interesting thing that I've observed through the years, that, and I still emphasize, especially as people transition, pay attention to your macros. If you're losing weight, then make sure you're getting enough calories, for one. You know, because I mean, that said, if people are losing weight from a fat excess, then that's good. You're probably in a calorie deficit. But I'm saying if you're losing more weight than you want, make sure you're getting enough calories. However, from being plant-based for 15 years, raw for a good bit of that, and eating pretty darn clean for this amount of time, I feel like my body has adapted. And whenever I track my calories now consistently, I'm about 500 to 800 calories lower than what conventional nutrition suggests that I should be at. And that's still me resting, eating to satiation all the time, resting at that 160 to 62 to 65 pounds. And so something happens, especially when you get your feet on the bare earth, you get out in the sunshine, you start to open and receive nutrition, nourishment from the colors and of the fruit and the smells and the connection with your family. You really start to open up to that kind of pranic awareness, that energetic awareness. Something happens, and your requirements start to go down. You know, like I said, I'm averaging around 800 calories less than is recommended, and I still enjoy a nice ninja physique.
Yeah, feeling light and agile. I think that's
and never hungry. Yeah, not hungry. I get super excited about my fruit first thing in the morning for lunch, and can fast the same and just feel amazing and clean right now.
Yeah, fantastic. And like, we're seeing so many see the results by even just if you keep on with the training. But I like seeing that you say 2 hours a week. How do you spread that out? Is it 3 times you train a week?
About 3 times. Depending on how busy I am. So if it's like sometimes whenever I'm built like in a hard push with my building, maybe 40, 50 hours a week. then I will do 20-minute sessions, but I'll do, rather than doing like 3 times through my push-ups, pull-ups, squats, I'll do I'll combine all 3 sets into one superset. So it's not easy to do. But yeah, long story short, I don't want to get to go too much in detail about all the metrics, but I can condense and get very high intensity. And that's what I feel is really the most important thing, is that you don't actually need a ton of volume, but you need some really good quality stimulation throughout the week. And then over time, and this is not about getting huge, like with steroids and things in a very short amount of time. This is really integrating it into the lifestyle. And if you're consistent over a year, and you're getting, what I do is my kind of optimal split is 3 30-minute sessions per week. And that's push-ups, pull-ups, squats. They're always full body workouts. I don't really do leg splits and things. I allow myself to recover on the day in between. With that consistent amount of volume at the high intensity, everybody that I've trained has massive improvements in their repetitions. And then within a few months, they're seeing big shifts, big changes in their actual physique.
It's sustainable, isn't it? That's more realistic for most people, instead of having to feel they go every day or at least 6 times a week. It's much more sustainable for many.
Yeah.
Vincent's second question was how to protect yourself from all the negativity as an empath when you feel all the pain around you. You want to help, but don't always want to be drained afterwards. I feel that it's a great question. And I feel for most of us, especially on this path, or the ones that have seen the truth. Yeah, it's not easy. I was a vegan activist for many years in the UK, and I used to speak at universities as well on behalf of the animals and the ethics. And that really did take a toll on my body. And even in dog rescue, I'm helping rehabilitate sick dogs. And obviously, the deeper you go on this path, you're seeing the cruelty. And especially if you're looking into the industries of the animal agriculture, and I've witnessed firsthand the highest animal welfare when I was at university, see some horrific things that shouldn't be going on. And it stays with you. And for me, that was the biggest why I went on this path. Vegan for the animals, raw for my health. And you can't unsee what you've seen. And now you feel like sometimes these low periods that you feel if you go into these, because I definitely feel it. And I go through, like even now I'm going through, I was just speaking with Josh before we came on here, that I'm going through some struggles with some of the dogs here. And yeah, sometimes it takes its toll. And this is why it's so important to really nourish ourselves. I always use the analogy of the plane. If the plane, we're always being told we're on a plane, if an emergency happens, you put the oxygen mask on yourself first. So the goal really is to really take care of you. And for me, I had to, depend on, everyone's different. Everyone has different skill sets. I realized very quickly that I don't want to go down the path of speaking, of showing what's the truth of what's going on in the dark side of and I wanted to focus more on the positive, the health, to help, because my agenda really is to get people to go vegan, to stop eating animals, my ultimate. And I want healthy people so that we have happy people, because when people are happy and they're full of love, we do have a better world. You never see a raw vegan, or I don't think you've ever known a vegan that's a serial killer. I look at things like that and I'm like, okay, and I live my life through, is it a win-win for everyone? Win for me, others, the animals, and the environment. So I'm mindful how much energy I put into sharing, because I want to share the truth. I'm not naive to it, but I focus more on the positive aspect. So depending on where you are, and that balances me out, because if I go too much into that side, because I have lots of vegan activist friends, I had to limit my exposure to their work. And even in the dog rescue side, in the dog meat trade and things like that. And I realized my energy, there's certain tools you can do, and they do some incredible work on really helping release a lot of the trauma. But I feel everyone has a different skill, and there is some incredible people that are doing the hard, the front facing of it all. So yeah, I focus more on the positive. So that's my take on it. I could go a lot deeper on this. I think this is even a topic for another call. It's so because I feel it, people, and I go through. I feel sometimes it's like a depression, a dark periods, but I know there's duality in the world, and I think when you accept, it's not condoning, but when you accept there's duality, there's light, there's dark, there's evil, there's good, and I've accepted that there's some sick, really sick things, and I've witnessed very sick things, and I know people are coming from a trauma-based way of living. Hurt people, and that's why it's my mission. It drives me even more, and I channel my anger, because I used to get so angry, upset, and then helpless. I used to go out arguing, fighting, because I've got quite a fire energy, and then I had to refrain, and then I go into this shutdown. And even now I'm going through some struggles, like just with the dog. So I take some time. I need to just take some time out for me, because I know then when I nurture me, everyone else gets the best of me. When people are stressed, that's where you see a lot of the collective. When people are stressed, not looking after themselves, I see a lot of not a healthy way of reacting to the world. And I want to be the change in the world. So I've got to change within, and then I channel all that frustration, anger, help, sometimes feeling not like I can't do it. At least I am sharing my message in the way that I feel is the best that I can do. So what's your take on it, Josh?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you're touching on sort of my perspective on it already, and I think that even the question actually points to like a deep essence and grace of how do we navigate this realm? How do we navigate this realm without just suffering unimaginably? How do we not suffer nonstop? And so, as we know, becoming more raw, it actually allows us to feel more sensitive to things, to be more empathic, to be more telepathic, to be more insightful and intuitive. So that's already something that we get to be thankful for, and also say there's also responsibility, and there's also, I don't like to use the word burden, but there is this other part of it that we get to carry during this time of where there's so much strife, so much cultural schism, so much suffering that's happening to the environment, to the creatures, and to the people. And so what I feel like is like being begged of us, and let me put it like this: the suffering that we feel, so the pain that we feel is inevitable, of course. As we all know, painful things happen in our lives, painful things happen to our family members, and also pleasurable things happen as well. And really where the suffering kicks in is in the resistance to what is happening, to what is. And so that pain happens, and when we in the mind, we say, no, this is bad. We label it. This is bad. This is not good. I don't want this. I only want the pleasure. I only want the good, etc. Then basically we push that away. And if anybody knows anything about electrical engineering, when you put electrical current or energy through a resistor, it heats up. When there's resistance and it's not conducting, it heats up and it eventually pops, actually. So that's really that feeling of the suffering we get. We make a distinction between the pain or the stimuli and the mental box and judgments we put around things, and that's the resistance to allowing for the experience to flow. So in that regards, what I find, and we all suffer sometimes. As I say it, we all kick and scream, bitch and moan from time to time, but at some point we have to say yes, no matter what. So the more willing and the more open we are to saying yes to the experience, not saying that I condone this, I'm not going to do anything about this. It's not complacency or apathy. It's the willingness to say, yes, even though this little mind cannot comprehend the vastness or the perfection that is happening here and the balance that's actually happening, I'm willing to say yes to the experience, to let it wash over me, to feel all of the pain and all of the things it brings up to me, willing to see those parts of me that want to resistance, want to resist, want to judge, etc. And be grateful for the awareness that it brings me, because really it comes down to what it's bringing up in us. So when things are particularly painful, particularly stressful, I do a few things. I'll go outside. I'll put my feet on the grass, in a creek is even better, feet in the water, sitting down in the sunshine, and I'll consciously get very still, and I will open and even say these things to myself in my mind's voice and things. I'm open and willing to receive this experience, and I'm open and willing to receive the gift. And if I'm really having a hard time, I'll even say, I'm really having a hard time. I'm struggling. I'm open and willing to be shown. And it's just that openness and that willingness to just be with what's here. And some people do get hung up on the idea like, oh, that's complacency and apathy, etc. There is this fine balance actually of being willing to see the criminal and the victim as God or as the perfection of creation. And then still also the perfection of creation is your opposition to that, or your path, if that's what your path is. You could, because like if I came up, yeah, for example, this is a very tricky thing to kind of talk about without getting too convoluted. If I see a man taking advantage of a little girl over some here, there's not going to be any question in my mind of what I'm going to do. I'm going to interfere right away. I'll probably be violent today. It's not actually violent because it's protective. I will restrain this man into where he cannot do anything. But at the same time, I can actually, and I'm probably just going to be in like kind of fight or flight in that moment, but I can reflect upon that, and I can see that even though it's atrocious and the mind wants to just condemn that so much as this is wrong, God made a mistake, da 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 da, we can actually see that that person was created through trauma, through a whole series of dominoes that led up to him. And through that event, and even my interaction with that, there's some sort of acclimation and balance that's happening that's beyond our comprehension. And so the willingness to love it all is a great challenge and a great opportunity. And that's how I approach and navigate the lifestyle.
I like that response, because that's a much more for processing. It's when the resistance is there, the reaction's there. It's because we end up holding on. I always use it's like when we're angry at someone and keep on with that anger, it's like us drinking the rat poison, expecting the rat to die. It's an awful analogy, but it does make me think, okay, when I'm getting angry in the car, who am I hurting? So I do, for me now, transmute it. And I like that what you say, you go outside into nature, always seems to just balance. I find grounding, putting your bare feet on the ground, even touching a tree, touching nature, really makes me just be in the moment and see it as it is. Yeah, it's work, but it helps calm that nervous system, and then we can transmute in a much healthier way, because we don't want to create more anger in the world, because we are energy, and then that brings on the collective. So I always look within. Where am I? There's work of Carl Cease, and I think it's Joe Dispenza. He says, look within. Where are you? Where are you hurting others? I always look within to see how I manifest. I'm not saying it's your fault, whatever you see, you witness, but where are we within causing suffering within ourselves?
Yeah, absolutely. The one analogy that I love that I use often is, if we kind of look at things as karma, and that the things that are happening to us, or the things that come into our awareness are these these karmic patterns that are begging to be processed, begging to be seen, begging to be resolved through the experience, then I call it the karmic pendulum. So if something is happening painful to us, that karmic pendulum's coming to us, we have one of two choices. We can say, no, this is bad, this is wrong, I don't want this, and we can throw it back, or we can receive it, experience it fully, and resolve that into what I call the 0 point of the heart. And that's that willingness to be like, this is God too. And so there's two ways. Yeah, like there's no wrong way, but if we don't want to be in these cycles of that pendulum coming back and forth and back and forth, that's one strategy. And I find that it's very healing for myself and for those I'm in relationship with as well.
Yeah, great. Thank you. So second one from DJH7424, following the Fuhran style diet for 4 years, but want to transition to fully raw ultimately, but feel like I will struggle without beans, chickpeas and onions. I know it's a mindset, but any tips? And the second one is raw for everyone. So for me, if you've got the cravings for beans and chickpeas, there's sprouted, and onions you can have raw. Now, there's different opinions on like raw onions. Some people swear by the onions. Some people feel it's like pulls mucus out. Some people say creates mucus. For me, I go with intuition. The cleaner I'm eating, I'm finding onions don't sit too well with me, and I can't have them too often. But I don't really do sprouted. I want to start getting into sprouting chickpeas and things. I don't know if you do, Josh, but I think that's something I'm going to look at. But you can still have those. But yeah, it is a mindset. So like you said, so you've got, work on why you're doing it. Where's the craving coming from? What's the behind it? So I work on a lot of digging the deep of the food addictions and releasing. And a practical tip is look at the sprouted, look at replacing these potential cooked foods that you want. Like if you want to cook the onions, why not try the raw?
Yeah, I think to answer that one question, I don't do sprouted chickpeas. Sprouted chickpeas mess me up. So that's a bad experience with I don't do that. That would not be a fun household with 7 people and some sprouted chickpeas. But I do a little bit of sprouted lentils. I do just fine with a little bit of sprouted lentils, a little bit of sprouted pumpkin seeds, and I like to sprout those kind of things. I do much better. They actually taste more like a vegetable, like a crunchy, fresh thing, whereas sprouted chickpeas is just it's not digestible for me. And then, Tony and we really agree, I think like 99%, and actually share the perspective. I actually think that the fully raw diet is is really optimal for a lot of situations. And then what I say to people is, I always talk to people in good, better, best. And what I mean by that is do what you can that is practical and sustainable for your lifestyle, and aim for best, and then at least hit good. So if best is fully raw and you're at that stage in your life, but you still are having these cravings for this and that, and it's causing you more mental strife and stress to sit there and be like, oh, I must stay fully raw, and you're dealing with negative thoughts and things, and it's causing you stress. You're actually probably doing more detriment than just throwing some whatever amount of these cooked lentils or whatever it is into your diet a couple times a week or at night or something like that. So aim for best. If you can't do best, do better. If you can't do better, do good. And I would say that good is meeting yourself where you're at there, staying fully plant-based, going as much raw as possible, and mostly just, loving yourself and being flexible.
Yeah, don't rush it. I feel there's an all or nothing thinking with a lot of us. I was there, and now it's just enjoying this journey of discovering. And yeah, if you're having so much resistance, just take it a step back. I like what you've just shared. I always say aim for the moon. The worst you're gonna get is the stars. It's like, but the stars are like high up there. So yeah, that's a great go for go for best, but you get good or better. So yeah, you do what you can. 3, Janine Miadai 1133. Sorry if I said that wrong. What to expect when you go only fruit diet? Oh my gosh, this is a lot to unpack actually, but
Yeah.
I won't go into the. I'll just share some of my nuggets because both of our channels share a lot about fruit, and I've done lots of mini fruit challenges, feasts, but yeah, to just kind of give it in a nutshell, what to expect: detoxification, which is not always pleasant, but what you can receive is incredible benefits such as the high energy, the fuel that you get, just not even just for the physiologically, psychologically, spiritually, emotion, everything. You're going to expect a life upgrade. Basically, I always say it just gives you that edge. I feel that's why I'm able to create what I've been creating in my life. Like, I just feel, gosh, could I have done this before? Who knows? But not to this probable level, that the mental clarity I receive, just the way I handle things without the food addiction anymore. Like before, I used to suppress, because with fruit, I find it helped me really process my emotions and allowed what came up to come up, because I did work with them, intentional eating, satiety sensing and things like that I share on my channel. But fruit really, helps you upgrade. It's like a frequency like no other. High frequency fruits with these biophotons. I've shared so many of the benefits, so I could go on. I'll let Josh share his little take on this.
No, yeah, you pretty much hit the nail on the head, and I shared the experience. I was 100% high raw, no, fully raw, super high fruit for 3 solid years. And what I'll say in addition to what you say is that you can expect to have preconceived notions about nutrition and energy requirements blown out of the water. Because like one of the things, and you'll blow other people away as well. Whenever I was 100% raw and doing this very high fruit, which I just do just as much fruit now, actually. This is when I lived in Nevada City, California, and I was working as a natural builder. And during the summers, it was upwards of 45 degrees Celsius, which is like 110 degrees Fahrenheit. And it was very desert, arid. So you could sweat all day and never see a drop because it was just evaporating. Sweating actually it works because it's cooling. And I don't know if anybody who is really sweaty in a humid environment, sweating doesn't really do much for you because it's not evaporating. There's too much water in the air already. So I would eat fruit all day during these hot summer days, and people would be around me, all these other builders and things would be just like having to take breaks all the time, like having to wash themselves over with water. And I'm just sitting here eating fruit, oranges and things like that. And they're like, Josh, you need to take a break and rest. I'm like, I don't want to. I don't need to take a break or rest. Actually, I feel amazing. And so, yeah, you're going to feel more energized than you've ever felt. You're going to feel more metabolically optimized than you've ever felt, meaning you're going to feel the most optimal digestion possible. Fruit is just like our superhuman food. And then the only thing I have to say about all fruit is that in the long term, just make sure that you implement some minerals into the diet, because I think that's where there's some people who decided to go fruit-based long term. And I'm talking about, there's some people who seem to do really well just fine. There's a few that come to mind right now that are like hardcore in the fruitarian thing. I'm talking to the majority of people. Make sure you're getting enough minerals. So definitely continue to do some greens, maybe a little bit of fulvic minerals, etc., something like that, because a lot of people do run into some dental issues down the line if they get way too strict, and also if they focus too much on acid fruits. So doing too many oranges, not enough fruit variety, not enough on the sweet fruits, then if you're doing the fruit, like you said, you're going to detox. So then if you do too much detox and you don't have enough minerals and you don't have enough eliminative organ support, then that actually is a recipe that you can see some people have a little bit of a disaster, of major healing crises in something that's hard to heal, which is dental situations. So That's my gym there. Take
Yeah.
care of yourself.
One thing I want to add, and you said about the sweating, yeah, here in, because we're both in the tropics, I'm in
Mhm.
Thailand, you're in Bali. I've always handled the heat quite well, but even more so now, like you do adjust, even those in the colder climates, because I've seen Eli and those that say it adjusts and you can actually handle instead of really struggling because our body is so oxygenated and our blood's clean. I love it because I can walk. I'm often asked when I'm walking to places because there's no real paths here. That's the sad thing with Thailand is no one walks because of the heat and everyone struggles with it. But I'm walking everywhere and they're like, "Do you want a lift? Do you want?" I said, "I'm only going a couple of kilometers." They're like, "That's miles away." Or it's too hot. I'm like, I handle it so well,
Yeah.
and even out the smell, like I do find like I don't need deodorant. Like I don't
Mhm.
like I shower regularly, but I don't smell. And that was
Mm-mm.
a bonus, you know. I felt like, wow, I don't sweat and I don't smell. So it's
That's
a
a big one. Yeah, me neither.
yeah,
Yeah, I really don't have to, I showered basically to get the salt and the, the sweat off of me, but it's not like I don't even have to wash my hair all that
yeah,
often. And it's not like the type of body odor that people get on conventional diets and meat-based diets and stuff. It's like I have I don't have the body odor. That's just the simple way to put it.
yeah, yeah. Next question and last one from me, and then over to Josh. Actually, that's four. I've done four. Sorry. Yep. So over to you, Josh.
Awesome. So I'm gonna look at these and think that we basically have answered a couple of them already with these awesome answers. And those are some really good questions, and a couple
They
of those were
really are.
really,
Yeah,
really deep. That was kind of fun to go into.
yeah. I could spend probably on each one a whole video on those.
For sure.
Amazing
Yeah, which is
questions.
awesome. And great ideas. And so we already asked, so I get often asked enough. People are already getting pretty savvy to, do you get enough protein on a plant-based diet? And it's like, yes. But then the next question is, do you get enough protein to build muscle on a plant-based diet? Yes. Do you get enough protein on a high raw fruit-based diet to build muscle? And we already answered that yes, really, if you're getting a diversity of plant foods, getting at least 10% of your calories from protein, and you're doing consistent stimulation of the muscles. Now, you doesn't have to be a ton. It just needs to be good quality, high intensity. Then you will definitely be able to build a significant amount of muscle. You're not going to become one of these Instagram bodybuilders. That requires protein supplementation, what it appears, protein supplementation, and lots of excessive exercise.
Which puts pressure on our organs. And you
It
see
does.
so many people with issues later down the line with their
Yeah.
health.
It's a trade-off. It's a trade-off. There's always a
Yeah.
give and take on these things. You have to trade your time for that sort of stuff. And for many people like you and I, we'd rather put our time. We want to be healthy, we want to be fit, we want to be attractive, etc. But we want to put the majority of our time on our good works, our passions, and connection with friends and family and time in nature, that sort of thing. So
Yeah.
yes, the answer to that question is yes. If you want to build what we consider the most holistically healthy type of physique, this is what I call that ninja, that kind of warrior physique of old, then absolutely you're going to get plenty of protein, and you're going to get all the other holistic health benefits without compromising in shortening your lifespan or creating hypertension or damaging your joints. Or so we could have a whole talk just on
Yeah.
those two different perspectives on what's actually the most healthy type of physique to have. So, and then I think I'll just do this one more here, because the other ones are very similar to the other ones that we've already kind of talked about. And this one is one that I think a lot of people, and I have been getting people uh, expressing to me as one of their main concerns when transitioning to a plant-based diet. And so we'll talk about this in regards to just plant-based and also raw, because it's going to be similar answer. How to navigate social pressures with family, especially in family gatherings and things. And so I just talked to somebody today, and what I told them is that if you there's a couple ways to go about this, and it's really good to actually just write it out, because I think the really the challenge in these social situations when we have the social pressures is that we're not actually prepared, and we're not actually clear enough and confident enough to where when we don't feel prepared, we don't feel confident, then the adrenaline kicks in when we feel confronted, and that's whenever things start to get awkward and can become confrontational, because then when we go into that fear, we go into the reptile brain, we lose frontal lobe function, and then we're just like, either we fight, flight, or freeze, basically. And that's where the really uncomfortable stuff happens with family, because ultimately, even though we're different than our families and stuff, what we want is acceptance, cohesion, love, harmony, etc. And so I tell people that it's really good to just go ahead and write some things down. But for one, to just go ahead and acknowledge the reason why you went and are interested in this plant-based diet and this high raw diet is because you love yourself enough and you care about yourself enough. You face challenges, you have compassion for other creatures, you care about improving your health, you care about improving your family's health, you care about the environment. It's all good things. It's not selfish. It's not, you're doing a good thing, and it's coming from a place of love. So just pat yourself on the back, reroot in that, for one. And then number two is the majority of the reason why people in families would even start to get to feel confrontational or uncomfortable about your dietary shift is because there's so much emotionality tied up in food, especially around feelings of safety. In the subconscious mind, we associate those plates of food that were provided to us, most of us who are blessed enough, 3 days and 3 meals a day. And a lot of us were raised, the majority of us were raised on food, on diets that included animal foods and things like that. So we have an association in our subconscious mind with these type of foods and safety. And so whenever somebody comes along, somebody like you and I, and we start living our lives and even talking about our lives, hey, we thrive long term. Not only are we surviving long term, but we're thriving long term on a plant-based diet, high raw diet, or a fully raw diet. And that just our existence, just us bringing awareness to that possibility threatens this other dietary choice. And it even brings up the ethical qualm with continuing that, because if there's no nutritive necessity, then there's an ethical qualm with actually harming other creatures for nutrition. If we have not only all these other options that allow us to survive, but actually allow us to thrive and remove many of the detrimental health effects from eating animal foods and things. So that's where the confrontation oftentimes will come. It's a feeling of being threatened, that we're going to take something away, take something addictive away, that we're going to judge them, etc. So going ahead, writing down, I'm doing this for good intentions. Number two, going ahead and just making a list of like that we actually, this is not actually a dangerous thing that we're doing. It's actually the majority of nutritional data, demographic data, and biochemical data actually supports whole food plant-based diets as most associated with longevity, anti-aging, and positive health outcomes. So that helps them to feel more safe about it, because they may be afraid for us as well. And then in those social gatherings, you don't have to talk about, try not and get into big conversations when you're in like a mob sort of scenario. If you're going to talk with people in private. Enroll your family members in like, especially like, for example, if it's your mother or something, or your grandmother who always loved making the turkey for you, and you always love the turkey, you can go and be like, because that's a part of it too, is they want to feel like they're able to nourish you. And if you say, I no longer eat that, then it can cause this pain in them. you say, I really love your turkey. I'm changing my patterns for health, and you don't have to get into the whole ethical thing because that can bring up a thing right in itself, especially with grandma. She might just go right over her head. Yeah, but you could be like, I would really love if you can do this if we can make this together, this alternative that uses all the amazing spices that you love to use, and we can make a plant-based version because I'm having these issues from eating this food and I'm trying a plant-based version. So you can be enrolling and in them, and then speaking in private and going through just the things that we just talked about. I'm really doing this because I care about myself, and I've done a lot of research. There's so much data supporting this. I've been dealing with this issue for so long. I'm really looking and inspired to make a positive shift in my health. I love you. I'm not judging you. Da 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 da. This sort of approach, which is basically compassionate and patient, is very helpful in navigating social and family gatherings, in those pressures and things. And then speaking up more on the activism side of things, that's social media is really great for that. And then being out of the lion's den, if you will.
Yeah. I definitely was reactive when I went down that path of I couldn't believe the cruelty, the atrocities. And I went and I learned the hard way with my family and friends. I was like, have you seen this? Watch this. And I was just bombarded. And I found very quick, well, maybe it wasn't so quick, but found that, yeah, you can come across as, yeah, they're threatened. You feel like you're judging them. And for me, I wasn't. I was just like, well, I just wanted to share the truth. You've got to see this. And not everyone's going to see what you're seeing, or they're not quite ready for that. They say Gary Yavorsky, which is one of my favorite vegan activists, he doesn't do that anymore, but it was him that really cemented the ethical stance for me. But a lot of people did not resonate with him, and even vegans didn't resonate with him. He was very out there, direct, didn't sugarcoat anything. Now I like that energy sometimes. Tell me it as it is, tell me the truth, get direct to me. I want to, yeah, but not everyone is like that. And I would say most people aren't. And your family and friends are probably the hardest. So I decided just to lead that, not explain myself, because when you're in the transition, or you're still not really that confident, like you say, you feel not totally embodied. Like now, nobody even questions me. It's like, it's so who I am. It's like, of course, it's like, this is how you live. This is so everyone's more curious. I'm more inspiring. Yeah, on social media, you can spare some things. And I definitely was out there, and not even just direct with the people. And that did hurt some people, but just remember, it's only a reflection of, no one wants to cause harm to any being, they really don't. And it is that you're questioning their beliefs, you're questioning the whole condition. There's so much involved, and this is a big topic in itself to unpack.
It's a big topic, yeah.
It's huge. But the only thing I would share, like what you said, is just be gentle with your family, your friends, those closest to you, and just be the example. Just work on you, and everyone else, if you want to put on social media, do so. I feel if you feel a call, if you're in your truth and you're upset about something, share it. If it's from the heart, I always question now, okay, if I'm sharing it, where can I add value? And is it educational? Am I just in that reactive, being angry and personal? I don't want to, that's not the place for me. It's not comfortable. So sit with it before you react. But if you feel that in your truth, that's what you need to share, then share it. But it's an experience that you have to go through yourself. I would just, highly just gentle with your family and friends. I've learned definitely, I had many arguments and interesting. And when I did the talks as well, I actually helped. I felt the health side was really, it was easier at times, bringing in, like, look at, like I bodybuilder, plant-based friends. So when I used to do the university talks, they used to come, and the boys are all like, they're vegan. They don't eat any
Hmm.
animals, no protein, and they're like, wow. So they was inspired by it.
Hmm.
So yeah, I feel everyone has their place in where they want to share. If you
Hmm.
want to be a Gary Yavorsky, I even enjoy Airflin Ed. I don't know if you know him,
Hmm.
and Joey Carbstrong, who share the
Yep.
message. That's more of everyone comes to their own. Like
Yep.
I love. Is it a stoic? What do they call the way they uh,
Like logic and
yeah, let people
yeah,
come to their own conclusion. I
yeah, they
love
use
that
logic.
style.
Hmm.
Yeah, so I started to use that in my interviews on the streets because I used to do street activist work. But
Hmm.
instead of being, this is cruel, da da da, no, I used to have conversations with others and be like, okay, I actually learned not to say, do you love animals? Then
Hmm.
why do you eat animals? That can get
Hmm.
people's backs up. So there's ways, and at first I was like, I don't want to sugarcoat it. I want to say the truth, but not everyone's ready for that. Some people are, and there's a time and place, but you'll navigate that in your best way you can. And
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
you said it well
That's
there.
absolutely. I think that the family are the ones that we really want to preserve our connections with the most gently and the most gracefully. And what we'll actually find is that, especially if we present ourselves in this crazy mire of a world, this crazy world with humbleness, um, strengthen our stance, but also humbleness, uh, and, and gentleness with one another, then actually we have more of a potential to inspire and have more of an attracting effect rather than a pushing,
Well,
like
yeah.
push you out of your thing, push you out of this thing. Usually creates people to put their heels in the ground. Not always, of course, like you're saying, pure logic, pure, like some of these the shock value, and the people who are doing that, I think everybody's doing their perfect part, honestly. But
Yeah.
you will see that there can be a tendency for people to put their heels in the ground if they're being pushed out of something. However, if you've approached with love, respect, patience, and I know it's hard to be patient as creatures are suffering unimaginably, but being patient, living your life as the example of what's possible, uh, having a strong stance. So, for example, I do have a lot of research in plant and soil science, in sustainability, in the actual nutritional data, in all these things that support my beliefs and my stance around uh, there being no nutritive necessity for animal foods, and therefore ethical qualm with harming these creatures. That there being a vast difference in the amount of, because you have all the arguments that can come up that, oh, plants feel too, that one, that there's a vast difference in the sentience and the experience that a plant has as compared to the highly relatable experience that we have with animals. Can deeply relate with the screams, with the terror, with the et cetera, et cetera. I have a strong stance around the way that I communicate my beliefs around why plant-based diet is the way forward. And yet I try and be very respectful and say, listen, though I believe these things, I'm humble, and it's not so humble to say you're humble in a sentence, so I don't say that. But I I I am not willing to go to war with you about this, and it's more of an invitation to look at this, to see this is the living example of what's possible on this type of diet. Within a couple generations, so much is going to be so clear because people are doubling down on their nutritional paths. We got people going full carno, we got people going super raw, and uh, it's just in those families, in those two paths are gonna as in the Bible, they say, you shall know them by their fruits. The fruits are going to be obvious very soon, and I have the inclination that the fruits of our dietary choices are going to be, and our lifestyle choices are going to be longevity, and satisfying, balanced, and vibrance creating lifestyles. So that's what I promote.
Yeah.
And yeah, as you know, we could go so deep
I
into that one
know, I
topic.
know. It's a win-win. I really like to keep things simple at times because there's a lot of information out there. And I feel when we feel overwhelmed on a lot of information out there, don't forget a lot of it is there to confuse us as well. And we've
For sure.
been You know, like if you confuse the masses, then you stick with what's familiar. But just live by the win-win method, win for everyone. I just want no suffering. I want the animals to live happy lives like we do, you know, everyone to be happy. So yeah, I just live by that, and that keeps me on my path. And if we can do it without eating the animals, it's unnecessary.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you so much. So if you want to check out Josh's work and his program, getting lean, getting plant-based, even high fruits, and his calisthenics, or you work more on the calisthenics, don't you? But like compound exercises.
Yeah, so, it's all calisthenics compound exercises, exactly. Yeah, and the best way to get in touch with me is send me a DM on Instagram or Facebook, and I'm sure you put the links in there. Just send me a DM straight there, and then we'll talk about anything that you're inspired about, that you're challenged with, etc.
Yeah, thank you so much. And we always end with the be, feel, and stay Rawlicious. Are you ready, Josh?
Say it again. Did you say be free?
Be, feel. So we've got to be it, we've got to feel it, and we've got to stay Rawlicious.
Okay, I'm gonna follow you.
Because you are Rawlicious, Josh. You know,
I am. I'm Rawlicious for sure.
Get those muscles showing.
That's right. Here we go. Where are we at? Yeah.
Amazing. So, are ready after 3? 1, 2, 3. Be.
Feel.
Stay
Rawlicious. Bye, y'all. Yeah. All right.